So if that's okay for everyone, we're now recording. So that if we have people who want to have the replay, it's possible. Let me check. Okay, it's recording. So again, a warm welcome, and what you will learn in this session is current and future context, why leadership matters, the superpower of emotional intelligence, personality as a key success factor in also increasing emotional intelligence, and we'll like to give you a framework and a tool to increase leadership performance. And in the end, a special bonus gift waiting for you at the end of the session. What you will need for the webinar, you will need your smartphone. That's where we'll have a bit of interaction, and you can also keep a pen and a piece of paper close to you if you want. If you have any question at any time, just raise your hand. You can do that also with Zoom, and then you can just go unmute. But there will also be some time in the end for question and answers. Okay, so very brief overview about what we're doing at Cambiana. We do have 3 areas of focus, leadership programs that are very much based on also working with personality, team performance and development, and business coaching and business training. And that's basically the core team who you see under. Some of them are in the call this morning. And we do a lot of programs on our digital campus. So it's actually for us also no problem in times of not being able to meet and do workshop face-to-face. We've had lots of experience in running workshops online. Okay, so let's get straight to the matter, and I would like to see a couple of things about you. So here's the website where you go to, you take your smartphone, or you can also access, of course, from your laptop. You enter the code 804441, and I'm going to share that immediately. What you will see here. So, and when you get there, you will find a first question. Which superpower would you like to have? So you go to Menti, enter the code 804441. Okay, read people's minds. Time travel. Speak all languages. Okay, so time travel is really a hit, huh? I don't know if you would like to travel in the past or in the future, but okay, using the time machine. And then we've got read people's minds and speak all languages. So basically, with the superpowers of personality, we can very probably increase the ability to read people's minds to some extent. So to some extent, we're not in Harry Potter, but probably. As for speaking all languages, probably we can increase the ability to better understand and speak sometimes the language of the mind. Certainly. As for time travel, I'm not really sure what we can do here. So maybe it's another tool we need to develop for leadership, the ability to see in the future, or maybe to take lessons from the past. Okay, thank you. Then I have another question for you right now, which is, just give me one quality in leadership that you especially value, that comes spontaneously to mind. Independent thinking, reliability, empathy. present, listening, vulnerability, reliability, listen, self-organized, strategic. Okay. Curiosity, creative. Okay. I think you got them all. All right. Thank you. So, what do we have now? Empowering. Cool. Support. Charisma. A wide array of qualities, very different from each other, right? What else is coming? Got support is coming several times. So it's getting bigger here on the word cloud. Okay. Okay. And efficient just came. Okay. Empowering, reliability, listening, efficient, curiosity, listening, present, strategy, self-organized, independent thinking. To take everyone together. That's a new one. Mm-hmm. What else? Empowering. Okay. So support is very much in the middle. We've also got now stress-free. Okay. So around listening, being present, curiosity, taking everyone together, supportive, empowering, being strategic, creative, listening, charisma, curiosity, vulnerability, empathy, stress-free. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, what else? Something else is coming. Driving. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a new idea. Yeah. Okay. So very different qualities, right? From being empathetic, listening, supportive, towards driving, independent thinking, being self-organized and strategic, empowering others, creative, stress-free. So a lot of qualities that relate to different areas also of leadership. That tells us in a certain way, it also tells us what we want to see in others, what we like in others, tells us quite a lot also about ourselves to some extent. So it's always interesting also to take a look at which kind of leaders would we like to follow, or are we more likely to follow when we think about what type of leaders we are also. So let's get back to the press. And that's where we were. Okay, so take a quick look at the context and the leadership challenge, some of the emerging skills today, and we look at the superpowers that we can have for leadership performance. I just took this quote from Kennedy, which I think is a very important one today. When we think about the experience we just had also with the COVID-19 crisis that brought many of us outside of our comfort zones, where we saw that we really needed to learn very quickly new ways of working, new ways of communicating together to be efficient. So yeah, from a day to the other, having to adapt extremely quickly to a new situation. And I think this is a very powerful quote to say that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. So it's a growing a path in a way. And today, basically, when we look at everything that's happened, there are many things that are on one hand driven also by the digitization of work and life, not only work but also our life. All the apps we're using, all the services that we've now transferred into the Internet of Things, for instance, but also, the way we handle information with all the big data, the artificial intelligence, everything that is changing also, what is now supplementing the human mind, and also the fact that we do have that worldwide phenomenon that everything is getting global, but also everything gets connected. So things that were very, very distinct from each other today, we see that the borders are melting in a way. We've got new technologies complementing each other. We've got reality being augmented or being virtual. So there are so many transformations in our life that we could really say that we live in a constant change, and that continuous change has become the new reality. Of course, it's been also sped up recently with the worldwide crisis which we had, and working from home became the new reality. And now everybody's asking, okay, what is going to be the new normal? We had that acceleration in many of our practices through the pandemics. And the question will be, when things start to settle, what is going to be the new normal? But what we know for sure is that the world will never be the same anymore. And that's a challenge. It's a challenge for teams when they work together. It's a challenge, of course, for leaders, because it really also asks the question, what are the skills which we had that may not be the most relevant anymore in this new normal? And what are the skills that are emerging that we see we will absolutely need to have and to develop? I took this study from the World Economic Forum 2 years ago, because I think it was actually already on its way to understand what's happening in this so-called this VUCA belt, which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And the question is really, what do we need in this VUCA environment? So the skills that they found were creativity, originality, and initiative, analytic thinking and innovation, active learning, learning strategies. So we have again this idea of learning. Yeah? And if you know the work of Carol Dweck about the growth mindset, I think she was very, very ahead of her time when she started to develop that idea that basically one of the most important ways, forms of intelligence is this growth mindset, this learning intelligence. It's about really learning strategies and being active in learning. But there's also technology design and programming, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis. And what we find are two very important skills: leadership and social influence, very much linked with each other, and emotional intelligence. The rest is reasoning, problem solving, and ideation, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. Some of you also mentioned the stress-free and in a way, resilience in the quality for leaders. So we're just going to take a look at leadership, social influence, and emotional intelligence here, and see what we can use to increase that. I'll send you the presentation after the webinar. If you just drop us a comment in our next post, if you want the press, we will send it to you via LinkedIn. Okay, so some of you might know already quite a lot about emotional intelligence. It's not a very, very new model. It's from Daniel Goleman, and he wrote the first book, which has been out quite a long time ago. And so I'm just looking at the chat. I think it's the issue now in the chat with Menti is solved, probably, right? Okay, so and basically Daniel Goleman, when defining emotional intelligence, it's in a way the emotional quotient, right? said it's the capability of individuals to recognize their own emotions and those of others. So it's a recognition of our own emotions, but also the emotions of others. But also to discern between different feelings and being able to label them appropriately. So it's recognizing the emotions, but also being able to recognize the difference in the emotions, being able to name them, to label them. And then it's also about being able to use this emotional information to guide our thinking and our behavior, and to manage and or adjust emotions to adapt to environments or to achieve your goals. And here's basically how we could cluster that in 4 quadrants, and along the lines of recognition, which is raising that awareness of self and others, and then also the regulation, which is being able to use that information for yourself but also for others. So if we take a look at the first quadrant, it's about self-awareness, recognizing your emotions and being able again to label, and with that to be able also to raise your self-confidence. And if we go towards the social part, it's also the ability to recognize in others their emotions, and it's this capability is called empathy, being able to change your perspective and to put yourself in the shoes of the others to really understand their emotional state. But it's also about, taking into consideration also the emotions of a group, for instance, and the feeling also that you can build that bridge also to others and reach them where they are. And when we look at the regulation, it's about being able to self-manage, of course, your emotions, your own emotions, in order to adapt them to situation and to people. And when we look at others, it's also being able to influence the emotional state also of a group to inspire certain emotions. And that's also the idea of influencing. So the more we grow in our self-awareness, awareness of others, and the more we can do all these things. And the more we can also be in control and increase our spheres of influence. So what do we need for that? And it's basically having I would say, a deep understanding of personality is one of the greatest key success factors to increase emotional intelligence. Understanding personality and why personality matters. And of course, not all of us can do 10 years of psychological studies, but there are some tools out there that can really help, and some of them are really, really good, and they have a solid background behind, and we're going to take a look at one of them, which is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator for today, and see how we can apply it and how that can help the business. Oops. So question about personality is first of all, what is personality? There was a recent study that studied people over, I think, 5 decades to find out what is the stable and the changeable in personality. Is there a stable part? And the answer was yes, there is a stable part. So we were born with a personality structure that stays over our life. And there's also another part of our personality that changes over our life. So basically, that's also very much in line with the theory behind the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator that says we were born with certain preferences. However, in the course of our life, we're going to learn to extend out of these preferences, and very often we're going to stretch and learn new behaviors and new ways of being that are not necessarily in our inborn preferences. And that's basically also part of this changeable part, that's adaptable part, that's a learnable part also of personality. So just to summarize, we could say it's a unique blend of innate preferences and individual responses to personal experiences, what we learn from them, and how it impacts different individual behaviors. And in that, of course, each of us are a unique, have a unique personality, because no one will have the same combination of that blend. And that's also the second point, right? So each one will have a different changeable part also, I will say, depending on their life experiences and responses to them. And the idea is also, the more we know about our innate personality, the more we can stretch out, of course, of our innate and inborn patterns. So I would like now to send you back to Menti. So for those before who did not access, it's www.menti.com, and you enter the code 804441. And once you get there, getting there, so, oops, sorry. So that's where we were. Which aspect of your personality is very characteristic to you? What would you say here spontaneously? Just one aspect that you find it's very much you. Humor, open. Oh, humor, present, curious, positive thinking, organized. Speaking, friendly, humor to connect with speaking, structured, social, with people, empathetic, creative, optimistic, strategic, reliable, organized, structured. It's quite some of you who are structured and empathetic, friendly, organized, helpful, positive, okay. Empathetic, serving also. Okay. Open, helpful, organized, focused. Cool. What else do we have? Social, I think we said that before. Optimistic, personal touch. Attentive. Okay. So I think there were quite a few responses going in the sense of helpful, structured, friendly, empathetic, which are the bigger words here. Focused. It's very, very different qualities. Direct. Okay. Thank you. Oh, so I have something coming in. Indirect. Ah, okay. We've got direct people, we've got indirect people. Reliable, focus, attentive, ambitious just came. Okay. Okay. Empathetic came many times. Social, we had. Okay. All right. It's also quite a lot of differences, right, in what you would say is really a characteristic of your own personality. So next question I have for you is now one quality in people in general that you appreciate. Empathy, patience, humor, trust, curious, inclusion, honesty, empathy, walk that talk, open, humble, trust, curious, reliable, present, logical speaking, curiosity, light-hearted, intelligent, human, self-organized, self-regulation, funny, listening, craziness, interest in the person, intelligent, trust, curious, coming many times, listening, focused, courage also. Okay, patience. Not to be arrogant. Open-minded. Listening is coming a couple of times as well. Inclusion, open. Okay, so very different qualities here. All right, so let's get back to our presentation. And let's see if we can find a way to cluster all this and to make sense also of the data you've been sending here. And the tool I would like to present to you, for those of you who do not know it, is called the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, in short, MBTI. And it's a tool that is very, very well used in the world. It's one of the most trusted, actually, and well-known personality instruments. And it's a very deep model and a very deep tool if you take the time to go in depth, of course. And that's really worth it. It's a very, very, very powerful instrument that helps you very much understanding yourself, your own personality, your natural preferences. That also gives you a key to understand your behaviors and interactions with others. And that really helps you to develop some areas of your life. But it's also a wonderful tool to understand, to see the world in a way with new eyes, and to change perspective, to understand other people better with their needs, and also make sense of their behaviors. And of course, it has a wonderful effect on increasing the quality of the interactions and effectiveness in building and maintaining personal and professional relationships. So I'm just going to give you the framework, and I will start with this a very short film just to introduce the MBTI. I think it's working very well. I guess I just need to do something to share the computer sound. Okay, so now that should work. I hope everyone will see the image and hear the sound at the same time, and that the sound is not going to be too loud. If there's anything, just let me know. Okay, we start.
say hello to Jill and Bill. They work together, but couldn't be any more different. See how they unwind after a long day. How they take in and express information. Like giving directions.
Take Pine Street 0.6 miles, turn right on Chestnut Avenue, go 5 blocks north. It's the blue house on the left, number 1943. Here, let me write it down.
Go that way until you see the Stop and Shop, and then walk toward the ocean. You can't miss it.
How they make important decisions. How they organize things like vacation plans. How they sometimes don't get along. But why is this? Perhaps the Myers-Briggs Personality Framework can provide answers. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Assessment is an effective way to assess your innate personality type preferences. Knowing your preferences can better equip you in making decisions, communicating with others, and so much more. For example, some people gain energy by interacting with others, while some recharge through quiet reflection alone. Some people take a detail-oriented approach to information, while others are drawn to the big picture. Some folks take an analytical approach to decision-making, while others focus on how their decisions will impact others. And some people prefer to make and stick to plans, while others take a less structured approach, keeping their options open. All you have to do is take a brief assessment to identify your preferences and determine your 4-letter personality type. Rest assured, it is not a test. There's no such thing as a right or wrong type, and it can't predict the future. But the Myers-Briggs assessment can provide you with a better understanding of yourself and those around you, at work, at home, and anywhere else you may go in life. It's never a bad time to work on your personal development, so get started today with the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Assessment.
Gail, you're on mute.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we don't.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Carlos. Okay. I just said we're just going to review one by one very quickly the 4 dimensions of the Myers-Briggs, and if you wish, you can just do a very, very quick self-assessment of that, just like, you know, find where do you think you fit spontaneously, where you think it's more yourself. Okay. It's really a very quick and dirty self-positioning, but just to give you an idea right now. Okay, the first dimension is really about the energy. It's about where we get our energy from and where do we direct it. And basically the idea here is that extroversion means that you will get your energy from the outside world, and you will tend to put a lot of energy also in the outside world. So it's like a, you know, an energy flow towards the outside, a little bit like solar energy. Introversion, on the contrary, is a way to get your energy from within. So you direct your energy towards the inner self, and that's how you recharge your batteries in a way. So it's a very, very deep energy flow that goes towards the inside. So if you have an idea of where you would here tend to see yourself, you know, just write E or I.
Okay.
Second one is about what we call one of the cognitive processes, which is how we process information. What type of information do we prefer to use? On one hand, we could say, oh, facts and data, very practical information, very pragmatic, numbers, detailed information. That's what's really important for me. That's how I grasp the world in a way. That would be called sensing, because you're really with all your practical senses out there in the here and now. And the other one would be looking at the big picture, finding patterns in things, and loving future scenarios. And that would be called the intuition, in the sense, not on the sense of really like gut feeling only, but really having that that pattern view of information, finding the meaning behind the pieces of information. So again, see what's more attractive to you, what you think you would tend to be. S for sensing or N for intuition. All right, it's good today. Next dimension, it's called, it's another cognitive function. It's actually, once you have some information, what do you make out of it? How do you evaluate that information? How do you make decisions? And this decision-making process can be based on logical process, on a causal and effect analysis, on a desire to find the most objective criteria, the most impersonal criteria, and that would be called thinking. So basically that's the process you will put in place, stepping out of the situation, finding the most objective criteria to find the absolute truth in a way in the decision making. But you could also use another sort of logic, and you could say, well, no, actually, to really better decide, you need to step in the situation. By stepping in the situation, you understand the values at stake. You take into consideration the different perspective of people. People matter. And it's also important, if you're in line with your own values. And that would be called feeling. So thinking and feeling are two different ways to make decisions with a different logic in a way. Thinking, again, objective criteria, looking for the absolute truth, cause and effect. Feeling, stepping in the situation, wanting to find the impact on people and on self. Are you more a T or a F? What do you think? Okay. The last one is about how do we want to deal with the world around us? How much structure do we need? What type of structure do we need to put in the world? What makes us feel confident and what helps us perform? If you are a person who needs a lot of structure, a lot of planning, who needs to start on time to get somewhere, and who are performing at their best when they have the time to resolve things or to deal with tasks and have a linear path towards the goal, then that would be called judging. Not because you're judgmental, nothing to do with that, but because you need that structure and the norms, and you need that strong framework in a way to get to the goal. If, on the contrary, you want to leave a lot of options open because you believe that on the way there, you're also reaching your goal, but on the way there might be lots of things happening. Priorities might change, and you want, to be able to jump from one priority to the other to keep flexibility. And where you think that basically the way is also the goal, then that would be called perceiving, in the sense of you're responding very much to emerging information. So J for judging, lots of structure. Planning is important, being on time, or perceiving. P, responding to emerging information, being prompted with time pressure. That's usually where perceiving people would say that's where, you can get the best out of me. Okay, you're more of a J or a P? Okay, so again, we're doing that very, very quickly, but it's already giving some indication. And with this explanation, I will also encourage you to think back about your answers and what you value in leaders, what you value about others, and also what you said by yourself, and see if that makes sense with that framework here, what you answered before. So what's the impact, for leaders? When we take a look, we will say that usually, extroverted leaders, you will notice that they get energized by interactions. You will see the level of energy raising. They will tend to be action-oriented leaders and likely to feel at ease in front of a group. Introvert leaders, you will usually notice that they get energized by concentration, that they will be reflective leaders. They tend to think before acting, and they're likely to feel at ease with reflective activities. When we take a look at people who have leaders who have a sensing or an intuition preference, we would say that leaders who are sensors, you will recognize them because usually they tend to be very practical, hands-on, data-driven, present-oriented, and they like to be pragmatic in their approach. So it's really about the here and now. It's about, learning from experience. It's about, finding very practical solutions and needing facts and data. There will be the people asking you for details and facts and data. Leaders who are who have a preference for intuition, they will be the visionary leaders. You will recognize them because they will be the ones giving you the big vision behind things. They will also require from you to give them the big picture. And they will be the ones to see the patterns. If you give them numbers, they will make a pattern out of the numbers. They will give you the trends. They will be excited by that. So they're, in a way, the visionary leaders in their approach. Now, if we take a look at the decision-making process, the leaders who will be on the thinking side, the thinkers, they will be the one who will be looking for objective criteria to assess the situation and to make the decision. They will ask you, to give them, what are the consequences of this decision or this decision. And they will be likely to be critical and looking for flaws in the logic. And they will be very often focused on the tasks. As for the feelers, the leaders who make decisions based on that feeling preference, they will be the one who will tell you about the impact on people and the values at stake. They will be the one also to ask you, is that in line with for instance, the value of the company, with the values of the team? And they will be the one likely to give praise and to focus on the quality of the relationships. So impact on people is important here, being also in line with the values of the company and of the people. So that will be the type of leaders you will find. And last but not least, in leadership, how will you recognize the judges? Leaders, in a way, they will be the one who will tend to appreciate rules and procedures, who will say, actually, if you want, the company to run well, that you need, strict rules and procedures. They will be likely to foster planning, and also they will put a lot of emphasis in coming very, very quickly to closure. As for the perceivers, that would be the type of leaders who will tell you, you need to change priorities. You need to be very, very flexible. You need to keep many options open. And that would be the leaders who will be in a way, very spontaneous, who will be able also to, give that last minute effort and come with a great result. So very different types, that you can recognize here, and all of that, and that's also the point of the MBTI. It's not good or bad. It's all of that is very strong. So it's lots of strengths here, and the important thing is also to realize, what type of leader do I tend to be naturally, right? So that's the first quadrant of emotional intelligence. What is my natural tendency here? If I look at that. And what might I need, maybe, to adapt and to take into consideration when I'm dealing with people who might be on the other side of the preference. Remember, because the idea is also, what do we find attractive in leadership? And very often we react to what we are, and that's prompting us. And the question is really also, as you could see in all the answers that in this group today, this morning, you gave, the answers were totally different. So that shows us that we're prompted and motivated by very different qualities and characteristics. So what is the stretch for me? And that's the question as a leader. What is the stretch that I need to do when I recognize the diversity that we can see here? Do you have any questions so far?
No.
No. Fine for everyone. Okay. So when we cluster the 4 dimensions, and each dimension has 2 preferences, that makes 16 possible types. And again, what we're looking at here are basically, the basic structure of personality, which correspond to our innate preferences. What we are not seeing here when we do the questionnaire, or when we're doing this self-positioning, is of course, everything you've learned in life to stretch. And that's actually the interesting thing also, to see where do I come from, what have I stretched already, what have I learned to do to expand my area of influence. So everyone is unique, and yet we can have that wonderful model that really helps us to find some guidance and orientation when we work with others. And I'm just showing you now what it looks like. So basically, when we combine the letters, you have E and I for extroversion, introversion. You have S and N for sensing and intuition. You have T and F for thinking and feeling. And you have J and P for judging and perceiving. Then you will have this 16 different types. Basically, we can find also like 8 groups of types. And we think of leadership, you will have, if we start on the quadrant, which is top left, the activist type. So they're very action oriented. That's the ESFPs and the ESTPs. The ESFPs will be the improviser types. So they're very much into action. It's the type of leader where you feel, okay, anything can happen. This person is going to be able to think about something, take something out of the pocket and just like put it there, and it's going to work. It's going to be able to react really quickly to the situation. They're also people persons. They're able to really get the group together. That's really the characteristic of the improviser types in the activist group. The other type of activist group, they're the problem solver. That's the ESTPs, very much into a pragmatic approach. And the idea is really, getting things done, very task focused, and that's the influence of the T. Then you've got the conserver types. The conserver types are usually the more traditional leaders, and that's the helper and the realist types. They're on the introversion part, and the ISFJs are have very strong values. That's very important. They're the people who, the type of leaders who will take into consideration the needs of others, and will think, it's very important also to be helping, to be serving also people in leadership. The ISTJs, they will be the ones comparing the data. They will be the ones looking for the best solution. They will be the ones really also drawing from experience. The type of leaders who are very, very reliable. You ask them something and they will get you that number. They will get you that piece of information which you absolutely need. Then you've got the conscientious ones, idealists and supporters. They're introverts, and a lot of their values, they're very marked by the feeling part, the values, and that's very much directed towards the inside. On one hand, it's very important for the idealist ones, and very often that's the INFPs. They have strong visionaries based on values, and they're often the type of founders for startups, for instance. They have a strong value. They want to really realize that values. The supporter types are very much in the here and now and people oriented. Then we've got the nurturer types, ENFJs and ESFJs, and because of the extraversion, they put a lot of their people orientation towards the outside world. So they will be the one making sure that there is a good team spirit, that everyone is contributing, and it's important to nurture the relationships in the team. So that's the kind of leader, very much into empowering other people and nurturing. Then you've got the analyst types, and there are the INTPs, ISTPs. They're introverts, and the INTPs are very much the analyst, and that's the influence also of the intuition, looking for data that makes sense. So making the analysis with that. The ISTPs, the influence of the sensing part is very strong here, and they're the pragmatists. So that when they make an analysis, they want to find a solution that is doable. I'm just going very quickly with that. Then the director types are very marked with their extroverted energy and the judging part. So basically, they want to put a lot of structure. They want to shape the outside world. And they're called the strategists and the organizers. Depending on the strategies, that's the influence of the end, the intuition, the big picture. That's what they put out there with a lot of structure. The organizers, because of the influence of the sensing part, they will be more into being very present and making sure that things work. That's the practical side. Then we've got the visionary types. They turn this great vision towards the inside. That's the influence of the IN. And the influence of the J is also to have that idea that a vision can work when it's very structured. So the difference here will be the influence of the F and the T. The F will be for the visionary, also being able to inspire people. That's a very important thing. For the planners, the influence is really to make sure that things are very well rooted with each other, and there's a logic behind it. And then we've got the explorer types to finish with. They're the ENTPs and the ENFPs. They're the people going out there and curious about the world and wanting to explore as many possibilities as possible. And that's the influence of the P, which you recognize here. If you're an ENTP, you're really totally excited about strategy and models and vision, and you're ready to explore all that. If you're an ENFP, you're totally excited also by the people who are part of that big vision, and that's really the very strong motivator types. It's very, very important to onboard people with your vision here. So here's a quick tour for today, of the type of leaders that we could find thanks to the MBTI, and it really helps very much when we think about also what do we need to adapt depending on the people we're relating with. So, that's a question for you, which you can take also out of this webinar. Which type would you say you are? Just like spontaneously, did you recognize yourself in one of those? And, how is your personality impacting your personal leadership style? That's a question I would like to encourage you to think about after this webinar. Okay, so to finish with for today, what we're doing in focusing now on our leadership programs at Cambia. Now we're really focusing on building upon a better knowledge of personalities to increase emotional intelligence in leaders. And with that, we want to help leaders develop their self-awareness, confidence, and influence, but also help them empower their teams so that there's a natural performance emerging. And we also want to prepare organization better for the future. So we have two types of programs. We've got our open programs. They're running in Berlin, Munich, and Amsterdam in different languages, English, German, and Dutch. Next ones are starting from this September to December, and they last for 4 months. There's a full MBTI assessment with 24 pages report, personal profiling, individual coaching, there's peer coaching in the program. And then we work along 6 modules that are building upon each other, which are personal profiling, self-awareness, leadership styles and performance. We work on impactful communication and feedback technique, emotional intelligence and resilience, increasing their ability to build relationships and influence, and risk-taking and agility. So it's basically the 6 modules that are taken in depth during the program. We have a model that works with, it's a blended program with 4 face-to-face workshops. In case of a new wave of Corona, we have also everything digitalized, so we can also hold the workshops digitally. The program in full costs 4,450 euro per person, but we also have the possibility to create in-house programs where you select your own topics, and that starts with 1,400 euro per person. So that's what we really believe in now, working with the personality and to increase the leadership. So for today, I said that we had a gift for you. That's 10% for a leadership program of your choice. There's a code, Cambiana Webinar 2020. Just reach out to us. It's a limited offer until the end of this week. And you can, if you're interested, write to us in the chat, or if you know people who would be interested also, just let us know. We'll be very happy. We still have some open seats for the sessions coming at the end of the year, September to December, in Munich, Berlin, and Amsterdam, in these different languages. We're running English and German in Germany, and English and Dutch in the Netherlands. Any questions? Do you want to write something in the chat, or unmute to tell me what you take away, or any comments you would have about the session today?
Thanks very much. Yeah. I have a simple question. Which are the key benefits that you could see in a team where you do the MBTI?
Sorry, what was I didn't understand completely the question. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you perform the MBTI test, a complete team of 12 people, for example, which are the key benefits you could see within the next few months or weeks following the?
Yeah, certainly when we do that for team performance, it certainly increases the quality of the communication, and more generally the performance of the team, because you have that effect of inclusion, of having different ways to solve problems, for instance. We also see a great increase in innovation. There's a wonderful application of the MBTI when we speak of innovation, because and that's another topic. Maybe we will do a webinar one day about that topic. But basically, the innovation process can map very well with the different types of personality, and that's where you see that each one has a contribution to play, which is very important at different parts of the process.
Cool. Thanks.
Welcome. Any other question or comment from you today?
I would have liked to see a webinar regarding the challenges between the different types. So if you're a STJ, let's say, for instance, because that's what I was, what are the challenges to communicate with the INFP, or the differences between them, how to address them, basically.
Okay, so I'll take a note of that. Maybe we can also create a webinar. The next step of this one, the challenges between,
Thank you.
Different types. Thank you for this.
Yeah, Gail, if I can add to that, also to Vincent's question. So a lot in teams where MBTI helps is that without MBTI, you're actually very much focused on the differences in personality, and that shows off in conflicts, discussions, and the focus really is on the differences. With MBTI, there's a lot of awareness about the different personalities, also the differences, but specifically in how you can work together. So there's a big benefit from that moment on, with that awareness, to start exploring how these types can help each other. And yeah, there are challenges as well, but MBTI helps you to overcome them.
Thank you, Carlos. Yeah, thanks. And that's also interesting, because it's really the idea that, how you can turn challenges into opportunities. stumbling blocks or into, you know, stepping stones in a way to get more creativity and power in the team. Definitely. And you know, Zora, what's also interesting is that the MBTI is also used in for you know, for couples and for counseling in marriage, with the same idea, you know, that, you know, sometimes we find a partner who's very different from us, and that can create a lot of challenges, and the MBTI is one of the wonderful tools that really help understanding, you know, the differences here and to overcome that.
Did you do it, or?
But I can say that from a personal experience that really helped, you know, my couple very much. Yes. And I rarely have life coaching. We have more a focus on business coaching. However, very often, you know, business and life are also mixed, and we do have people also suddenly having that aha moment. Now I understand, you know, my partner is like this, or I'm married. Recently I had someone who said, oh my god, I'm married someone who's just the opposite, and now, you know, it makes sense. So yes, we do a little bit of that also in even in business coaching.
Cool.
Okay. So thank you everyone for your attention today. If there are no more questions or comments, I would say, you know, I would wish you a beautiful day. If you liked this webinar, we're going to make a post on LinkedIn afterwards. Please, you know, like it and comment. That's also very helpful for us. And, you know, if you wish the replay or the presentation, just write it in the comments of this post, and we'll make sure that, you know, you get that in the next days.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful day wherever you are at the moment.
You too.
It's sunny here in
Nice
Munich.
day.
Bye.
Nice day. Bye bye.